This is a special report from Business Week Armenia, CivilNet's weekly economic digest. Here's what you need to know. Health code violations or political retaliation? That is the question many are asking as hundreds of Armenian trucks loaded with agricultural goods remain stalled at a key border crossing between Georgia and Russia for alleged sanitary issues, prompting Yerevan to take the rare step of calling an emergency meeting of a Moscow-led trade bloc. We have called an emergency meeting of the Eurasian Economic Union, which will take place within the next 2 days, Economy Minister Vahan Kerobyan told reporters this week. As of Friday afternoon, no additional information had been made publicly available as fears grow in Yerevan of a potentially devastating trade war with Moscow. Reports of a major pileup began coming out of the Upper Lars checkpoint over the weekend. While precise figures have been difficult to come by, Vahan Hakopyan, Yerevan's customs attaché to Moscow, estimated this week there were some 1,700 Armenian trucks stuck at the border. Days after reports of the holdup first began spreading, Russia's food safety agency, Roselkhoznadzor, announced it had found numerous harmful pests and unacceptable high levels of pesticide residue in Armenian agricultural goods. Nonetheless, the rules for the inspection and clearance of cargo from Armenia have not changed, Roselkhoznadzor insisted. Armenian truck drivers, however, told reporters they were being subjected to stricter than usual checks. Yerevan-based logistics companies made similar claims. Kerobyan also appeared to confirm border checks at Lars had been tightened, telling reporters Russia had turned away roughly the same number of Armenian trucks so far this week as it usually does in a year. Similarly, Armenia's food safety agency said Russian authorities claimed to have found the same amount of infected agricultural goods just this week as they usually do in 12 months. Lars is the only open border crossing between Georgia and Russia and plays an outsized role in Armenia's economy as Yerevan's only overland route to Moscow. Last year, trade between Armenia and Russia topped $5 billion for the first time, accounting for just over 35.5% of Yerevan's total foreign trade. About 54% of Armenia's trade with Russia last year transited through Lars, according to Meline Abrahamyan, a researcher at the Armenian Center for Socioeconomic Studies. That translates to upwards of 100,000 Armenian trucks carrying more than 2 million tons of cargo passing through the checkpoint every year, Abrahamyan told CivilNet. Also speaking with CivilNet this week, Vartan Aramyan, Armenia's former finance minister and a longtime observer of the country's economy, said he believes Russia's claims of newfound sanitary violations are in reality an act of retaliation for Armenia's accelerating tilt to the West. I have conversations with different businessmen and they say already for 5 years we have been exporting our products to Russia with the same quality control certifications, with the same package of documents, and nothing like this has happened until now, Aramyan said. There is no other reason than something political, some kind of clash between the two governments, otherwise there is no explanation, he added. Lars is a lifeline for Armenia's economy, Aramyan stressed, warning that a prolonged closure would be very, very dangerous for the country. But despite its importance, Lars remains severely underdeveloped, with its location in a narrow mountain pass and inclement weather conditions there, particularly in wintertime, known to cause lengthy delays for cargo carriers. Over the years, calls have grown for Armenia to develop an alternative, more reliable maritime route to Russia via the Black Sea, but that has so far failed to materialize. This latest pileup of trucks at Lars marks the second such incident in as many months. Last month, some 60 trucks loaded with bottles of Armenian brandy were held up at the checkpoint for about a week before eventually being allowed into Russia. Though senior Armenian officials downplayed the brandy holdup at the time, Roselkhoznadzor has long stood accused of restricting trade as a means of political retaliation. For instance, in April, the agency moved to ban Armenian dairy products from Russian store shelves, again alleging sanitary issues, just days after Yerevan unfroze long-stalled plans to join the International Criminal Court, which had issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin the month before. Armenia's relations with Russia have worsened dramatically this year, particularly after Azerbaijan's lightning offensive against Nagorno-Karabakh in September, which led to the collapse of the local government and the forcible displacement of nearly all of the region's Armenians. Anger and frustration continue to mount in Yerevan over Moscow's unwillingness or inability to come to Armenia's defense in line with its treaty obligations. Since September, Armenia has withdrawn its representation to a Russian-led military alliance, snubbed a number of high-level meetings, deepened ties with the European Union, United States, and Ukraine, and joined the International Criminal Court, all in defiance of repeated and unusually strong warnings from the Kremlin. At a press briefing last week, Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for Russia's foreign ministry, decried what she termed Armenia's radical reorientation in foreign policy and dismissed Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's insistence last month he is not changing the country's foreign policy direction as a blatant attempt to camouflage true intentions. We see everything and will draw conclusions accordingly, Zakharova warned. For more updates on this story, as well as the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia, please follow CivilNet.